Good morning. I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District for August 28th, 2024. We'll begin the meeting with a roll call. Commissioners, Commissioner Cook,
Present.
Commissioner Barnes, Commissioner Hood,
Present.
and Vice Chairman Thompson.
Present.
Chairman Pantazis is here, so I believe we have a quorum. The next item is to adopt the agenda. And Commissioners, I want to bring something to your attention. We need to add in an executive session after item number 4, so prior to adjournment, to discuss legal and personnel matters. So I'd ask that you adopt an amended agenda, or at least consider adopting an amended agenda with the addition of an executive session right after the rental assistance programs item.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amended agenda is adopted. Thank you. So the first item on the agenda substantively is to go over the rental assistance programs.
Thank you, Commissioners. We have Larry Williams, Chief of Housing Operations Officer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The purpose of this resolution is to approve the Section 8 Management Assessment Program certification for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Our score is 81%, and we do have Paula with Quadell on the line to kind of go through some of the details and how we came to the score. Paula? Paula, I think you're muted.
There we go. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, HABD staff, and any guests if we have any. My name is Paula Bingham, and I'm a program manager with Quadell Consulting, and I'm here to present the 2024 CMAP review. As you know, HUD requires board approval to submit the certification. Since this is only completed once a year, I'll kind of give you a brief overview of how the process works. CMAP is the Section 8 Management Assessment Program, and it is designed to evaluate whether your Section 8 program operates to help eligible families afford decent rental units at the correct subsidy cost. CMAP also establishes a system for HUD to measure the performance of a housing authority in key Section 8 program areas or indicators, and to assign performance ratings. CMAP provides procedures for HUD to identify housing authorities' management capabilities and deficiencies in order to target monitoring and program assistance more effectively. Obviously, here we're talking about agencies with a rating of less than 60, which is considered troubled. I like to think of the CMAP performance analysis as being a tool housing authorities can use to assess and improve their own program operations. So there's 14 different indicators used to assess your Section 8 programs management. HUD specifies the verification method for each of these indicators in the Code of Federal Regulations, and I completed the CMAP review based on these regulations. Before going over the report, I'd like to thank the HABD staff for their assistance during my time on site. Being in this industry for more years than I care to admit, I appreciate seeing people that have a passion for what they do. It's not easy work, but it is rewarding. I'd also like to thank the board for the community service you're providing and your commitment to carry out the mission of the agency. Okay, so let's take a look at the 2024 CMAP executive summary. So you should have that in front of you. On the first page, you'll see a table listing each indicator and the points possible for each one. On page 2, you'll see the points earned by Housing Authority of the Birmingham District for each indicator, and I'll go over each one. Please stop me if you have any questions.
Excuse me, can you share your screen so that you can show the report?
I will try. Let's see.
Mhm.
You see it?
Yeah, if
Yes.
we can make it a tad
Okay.
bit bigger, we should be good to go.
Okay, let's see how I can do that. There we go. Uh-oh, that's a little too big. Is that good?
There you go.
Does
That's
that work? Okay. All right, let's go to this page. And you'll see, like Larry had said, your score is 81, which is good based on an agency of your size. And I'll tell you how I arrived at that. So go to the first
you have a question.
indicator 1, and this is selection from the waiting list. So this just says that you have written policies in your admin plan for selecting applicants from the waiting list, and that you adhere to these policies when pulling applicants from the waiting list and determining their eligibility. So there's actually 2 parts to this indicator. First is a sample drawn from applicants that reach the top of the waiting list, and there were 3,018 during the fiscal year. That's a lot. And from this list, I randomly selected 12 files to review. All files were selected in the correct order. Another sample was drawn from new admissions during the fiscal year, which were those families that leased up for the first time since receiving their voucher. Another 12 random files were selected randomly, and there were 356 new admissions. All of these were selected in the correct order, and they were eligible for admission. So you received all points for this indicator. Indicator 2 is rent reasonableness, and again, we have to determine if you have written policies in your admin plan. So your admin plan is real important in this process. And we determined that you actually use Go Section 8 for your rent reasonableness, which is now called affordable housing, and that software you use to determine reasonable rent based on the market. I personally love this software and find it to be a great tool for your participants to search for units and for landlords to list their units. It also makes auditing rent reasonableness very easy. So I reviewed 46 files for this indicator and randomly selected from 5,149 units, which you had under lease during the fiscal year. And for indicator 2, you'll receive full points because the rent reasonableness process worked seamlessly. Indicator 3 is determination of adjusted income. And for this indicator, we use the same sample file. I'm sorry, I'm not proceeding through my PowerPoint. Okay. For this indicator, we use the same sample as we use for indicator 2. So 46 files were reviewed. This one is the most difficult because we look at almost everything. We look at income, expenses, assets, and the verification for each of these. We also look at deductions like childcare and medical expenses. And we make sure the utility allowance is calculated correctly. So the bottom line is, did we make the correct HAP payment to the landlord? Did the family pay the correct amount for their portion of the rent? There were actually 8 files with errors out of the 46, which gives you 15 out of the 20 possible points. If you're wondering, utility allowance errors were probably some of these, and we'll make suggestions in a few days to help you. We want to make sure that you get to high performer next year, and it's very possible if you just make a few small corrections. And other than that, it was data entry errors and simple calculation mistakes. So it's nothing major. It's just easy corrections that we can help you with. Indicator 4 is utility allowances. And for this indicator, we just determined if you completed a utility allowance study annually and you adjust your utility allowances based on this study. So you got all points for that. Indicator 5 is quality control inspections. HUD requires that you do a sample of your inspections and do a quality control inspection on a sample of your completed inspections during the fiscal year. And you didn't complete any quality control inspections, and I'm thinking that was because of your staff shortage. So we've talked about that, and going forward, I'm sure those inspections will be completed so that you can receive full points on that indicator next year. Indicator 6 is HQS enforcement. So for this indicator, we chose a random sample from all failed inspections during the year. You had 2,316, so the sample size was 32. I looked at the initial failed inspection and the date when or if the unit passed to determine if the payment to the landlord was abated properly. And in all cases, the correct procedure was followed, so full points were earned for this one. Indicator 7 is expanding housing opportunities. For this one, HUD wants to see that you're providing information to your applicants and participants to help them find units outside areas of poverty, and that you're doing outreach to encourage landlord participation in these areas as well. For me, giving the points on this one was a little iffy. It actually says in one part of the regulation that you should provide maps that show areas of low poverty when you're issuing vouchers or doing briefings. And maps are not being provided. However, since you're using small area FMRs, you're essentially saying these areas are the higher rent areas. So I believe this will justify the score, but I have advised staff to put a map in their briefing packets in the future. So let's see, for indicator 8, this is payment standards. So basically it says that you have to analyze the FMRs each year and set your payment standards at between 90 and 110% of the FMRs, or 120% if you have a waiver from HUD, which you did have for 2023. For 2024, you have your payment standards set at 110% of the FMRs. So this is perfect. You did it like you were supposed to, and you got 5 points for that indicator. For indicators 9 through 12, these are reports that come out of MTCS. So basically, we're using the reports that HUD provides for these indicators. So for indicator 9, annual recertifications, you only had 267 late out of 5,566. So only 4.8% were out of compliance. And as long as you had fewer than 5%, you got the full points. You got the full points on this one, 10 points. Indicator 10 is correct tenant rent calculations. You got full points for that. Indicator 11 is pre-contract HQS inspections. This just tests to make sure that you have a past inspection before you make the HAP contract effective, and you did that in all cases. Indicator 12 is annual HQS inspections, and for this one, you've got 23.7% late inspections, and I understand that this is being improved as we speak, and that you're using a contractor for inspection, so I'm quite sure you'll have full points on that one for next year. And for lease up, this indicator is based on whether you have leased up at least 95% of your units based on what you have been allocated by HUD, or that you've expended at least that much of your budget authority. So to get 20 points, the full points for this one, you'd have to have 98% or more, and you had you're so close, 97.4%. So you got 15 points on this one. And for this one, I used the 2-year tool that HUD works with your agency on. For indicator 14, this is only for housing authorities that have a mandatory FSS program, which you do not. And indicator 15 is a deconcentration bonus, and you have to provide all kinds of statistics for this. And I never see housing authorities applying for this deconcentration bonus. So overall, 81%, which is, like I said before, I think that's a great score for an agency of your size going through what your staffing issues that you have. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Commissioners, any questions?
I had a question about the maps. It sounded
Mhm.
like you said that what we provide is just the rental amount as kind of like a proxy indicator. I'm wondering if we could actually have maps. I know the census puts out like maps of like household income, or census tracts that are low to moderate income versus those that are higher in income.
She made that recommendation. So
You're absolutely correct. That's so easy to do. You just pull those maps and put them in the briefing packet. So yes, that's what you should do going forward.
Okay.
Commissioners, anything else? Well, thank you for the thorough explanation. Guess we can move on to the next step.
You're welcome.
and a motion.
Can you bring the resolution up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't have a question for the presenter. Thank you so much for what you shared. I just had a question around our inspections and just wondering, I heard her say that the thing that was given as a result of, or the reason why it was that way is because of staffing or personnel. Have we adjusted for that for moving forward? Are we?
So we have adjusted for that. And this time period is for last fiscal year, but we have adjusted for that now.
Okay.
One of the things we had to make sure we focus on, or it would have hit us twice, is the backlog of recertifications. So that was the priority for the team. But going forward, yes, we have a plan and with Quadel's recommendations to move that forward.
Okay.
I have one question. I apologize for my tardiness. What did she say about the family self-sufficiency?
So she said that we don't have a mandatory family self-sufficiency program. We have a self-sufficiency program, but it's not mandatory for Section 8.
So we had NA by, so
That just means the points didn't count
No,
against.
we don't qualify for the
Right, we don't
points.
qualify for those points.
okay.
Maybe to round out some of the inspection questions too, do we feel like we're adequately staffed on it to do the inspections moving forward in the way that would give us some, it looks like there's about 15 to 20 points we could gain in that category kind of overall.
So we are adequately staffed and currently hiring more staff for that reason. But I think, like she mentioned, we'll be high performing next year because that's been now that we've been able to get past the backlog of recertifications, we're able to look at the program in the totality and make sure that we deal with the scores based on what they provided.
And we were aware of the issue coming forward, and that was one of the things that was in the plan that Mr. Williams had presented, that we increase our staff for quality control. The inspections are happening, but the quality control side of it is what we need to ensure that we get more engaged and have more staff to follow up on those inspections that are currently being done.
Now, before you had mentioned to me before, like a lot of those the inspections were done by third party, but it was my understanding we're going to start doing those in-house now, right?
Yes, but we will continue to hold the third party in place until we're adequately staffed. Because we
Okay.
do have some staff on that we have that doing inspections as well. But the quality control of reviewing what those inspections, how those inspections are being performed is what we need to do.
And this may have been one of the recommendations. I noticed we got dinged for not having a income verification process. That was a third party. Did I see that correctly? Or maybe I misread it. If that's the case, that's all right.
It was on the adjustments, I think, and I think it was part of our the utilities. I think she was saying there was some data that was entered incorrectly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what we're doing in that scenario is that we're going to really use a rent cafe in Yardie because that would actually help alleviate some of the areas that happen based on human error.
Okay. And then there was last question probably about the details on this. There was one item that I think if we got to 5%, we wouldn't have gotten it, and we were like 4.8. So I'm thinking about stuff maybe that obviously inspections, we got a plan. Next year, we got an expectation there. But that one that was 4.8, I'm trying to think of other ones that may be like borderline that were in the report. Is there any, sort of strategy to maybe get that a little closer to make sure it doesn't go the other way?
Yes. So the one that you're specifically speaking about is the backlog of recertifications.
So that was,
So we've actually alleviated that backlog. I think there's maybe 100 people on that list still left that we're clearing up right now. So when you won't see that again going forward.
is there anything else that was close that worries you, or feel pretty good about everything else?
No, I felt pretty good on everything else considering the year that we've had. But I think we are in a much better position going forward to become a high performer.
Commissioners, any other questions about this? Thank you for the ones you've already given.
And if I may say, that's one of the questions I asked Paula. Did she see anything that would alarm her, that we should be concerned about, that we have not noticed on our own? And if you want to share your response, that based on your observation and assessment, how we're looking moving forward.
Oh, I think they've got a plan going forward for sure. Your staff is really engaged. Appreciate the help there. We're really responsive to anything I suggested. And like Ms. Foster said, I think the major part that you need to focus on is the inspections. And since you have a plan in place for that, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be a high performer next year. And just a little training for your staff, maybe as far as indicator 3, to get full points on that. It really takes focus on completing the new admissions and the recertifications to make sure that you're entering everything correctly, because if you're in a rush to complete, then you're going to make mistakes. And I think, with Quadel's help doing the recertifications, I think it's given staff more time to focus on their job and hopefully get some training, much needed training, because I really, really think it's important for even seasoned staff to have ongoing training, because once you kind of get set in your ways, doing things, you may think what you're doing is correct, but unless somebody points it out, like in an audit, then you may not know that what you're doing is incorrect. So training is really, really important.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hearing no other questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the Section 8 Management Assessment Program CMAP certification as presented.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
All right, and then the next item on the amended agenda is to go into executive session. I know we have Attorney French attending via Zoom. And my understanding is we are going in executive to discuss legal and personnel matters. So that would be the justification for doing so. Is there a time frame we're also looking to be in executive for?
30 minutes.
Let's say no longer than 45 minutes.
Oh,
Just because the last couple of times we've gone
Okay.
over. Attorney French, are we in good standing to entertain a roll call vote or a motion to enter into executive session?
Oh, I see. Sam.
Or if there's a representative from
I
our
think it's
council.
Attorney
Is
Ford.
it Attorney Ford's on?
Just trying to get off of mute. Yeah,
So we
Sam
good.
Ford.
He said we're good.
Okay, all right, and if you just want to chat or text us, or that's fine too. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for no longer than 45 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook? Aye or nay?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Thompson?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. We can now enter into executive session. Having concluded our executive session, I'll entertain a motion to exit executive session.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do a roll call vote to exit. Commissioner Cook? Aye.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Thompson?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. We are now formally out of executive session, and that moves us to our last item on the agenda, which is to adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.